Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Dynamic Duo. My name is Travis Snail. Here I am. If you're on video, look how depressing this is. This shot, I got two empty chairs. It's just me. There's no geeks. There's no Kyle. There's no Liam. Everyone's busy. It's a Monday. That's why my work schedule is weird. I'm always doing different stuff, but my name is Travis Snail. If you've listened to this first episode, we're going to talk about some good stuff today. We're going to talk about Birds of Prey and the eternal, what's going to be an eternal weeks, months worth of debate, even probably years worth of why is it performing the way it's performing. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange 2 and its director and maybe Tobey coming back or something like that because we haven't got to talk about that at all. I haven't talked about that at all, and I'll tell you why I'm doing this cast. Secret Invasion for Marvel might be getting a Disney Plus series, which is kind of odd for me. I'm going to talk about the Oscars very quickly, all the winners, because we did a predictions cast, me, Liam, and Dylan. You could check that out, I guess. The reason you could check that out is also the Oscars has happened, but and so the predictions mean nothing. But you can check out because we reviewed and talked about a lot of movies that we haven't talked about in the cast. Gonna talk. Thought there's maybe one more thing. I got a list. I'll go back to it. But yeah, I'm doing this because we aren't doing a newscast this week. So I might jump on here, jump to talk to the fans, talk to the listeners, see how everyone's doing. I hope it's Monday when I'm recording this. So I hope you're going to have a great week. In Canada, I'm about to have a 3-day weekend. So that's nice. I've not had one of those in a while. Oh boy. What else is going on? So Birds of Prey, we reviewed that. That was lots of fun. Thank you for all your support on that one. That one's doing really well. So thank you for that. So check that out. Big in-depth spoilers review. If you haven't seen it, you check out the review portion. Go back. This weekend, we will be reviewing Sonic. It's going to be Kirklin, Taylor Field, and myself, I believe, will be reviewing Sonic. I just think that it's going to be such a mess. But you know what? I'm going to bring Gwen, my daughter, to it. So that's going to be a bit more fun. Because at one point, I was going to be seeing Sonic alone. And I thought, this is just depressing. So I thought, you know what? Let's see what almost 3-year-old thinks about this hedgehog. So tune into that. I forgot to pump this on the Birds of Prey review, so I'm mad about that. But March 1st, we have a big event happening. I think that's a Sunday or a Saturday. I can't remember when, but March 1st, it is the rematch. It is Taylor Field versus myself in a backyard wrestling match. If you don't know, there's going to be some hype videos and stuff like that, but a few years ago, 3 years ago, we had a backyard wrestling match. He won. He cheated multiple times, broke multiple rules. So that's why this time there's no rules. Weapons are allowed. We can leave the battlefield area. Taylor, part of the agreement, got to pick the referee. He picked Kirklin. Oh, his team partner in the gauntlet, who he's a champions with. Yeah. So I'm sure it's going to be fair and unbiased. But yeah, March 1st, it's going down. You are going to want to tune this because there's going to be a lot of crazy stuff that's going to go down. If you enjoyed the first match, which in the next few weeks we'll post it on our Facebook and Twitter, go follow us there. Watch it, and if you think that was bonkers and fun, this is going to be even more so. And I am looking so forward to destroying Taylor Field. He has put me through a lot this past year in the gauntlet, and in general, he's just a vexing type of guy. You know, he's always getting at me, getting on my nerves, so I cannot wait to get in that ring. And yeah, I'm very excited March 1st for everyone to see it and for Taylor Field to feel it. So let's get into some news today. And then after that, I'm not sure there's always tons of, I guess the biggest thing I should pop up to for me and Taylor doing, this is why, we wrestle, we have this feud, we still got to get along because Star Wars Clone Wars Season 7 is coming back. What is it, February 21st? The last 2 episodes of the Clone Wars retrospective will be dropping, covering Season 6, and then we'll be covering that every week, so that's going to be big, so stay tuned to that. That's going to be lots of fun. So let's get right into it. Birds of Prey. Oh boy, this has been a fun topic. This has reminded me of DC in general and Geek First. We started July, I think it was 2015, somewhere around there. It kind of actually, I think if you look back, it says August, but the reason we count July is because we record the first episode in July, and it takes time. If you've ever started a podcast for an episode to get in the system, they got to prove it and listen to it. Then after that, you're golden. So I remember, it's like July. So let's just go from that. August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. So we were operating about 8 months. And, we're smaller. We've grown every year, and we thank you all because of that. And another thing, if you like Birds of Prey, check out Patreon because we have our exclusive Suicide Squad commentary track up there. It's tons of fun. If you like what we do, you'll really enjoy it. It's just exclusive Patreon at the $5 tier. We're not releasing it, so that's the only place you can get it. And Mortal Kombat is coming next, which is going to be a wild watch. So 8 months we've done the podcast, smaller podcast, right? There's thousands. Podcast is like a band. Everyone has one this generation. But we were smaller. And I remember when BVS hit, that was the most traction we ever got. It was our biggest episode. It made sense, right? Things like that. But that was when I really, as someone that runs the Geekverse Twitter, and Taylor runs the Facebook, but we do as well, just like looking at it and getting certain feedback as far as our reviews and everything like that. Someone like myself, I guess this was for Suicide Squad, but being called like a Marvel dick sucker, even though, I gave BVS a positive review and I said I liked it. It's always like, you don't like it enough. So I remember that was the first time in the podcast of hearing like, oh, like people always talking about like bad internet comments. That was the first time we got some, especially it was so weird because the majority, like Taylor gave BVS a 9 and Squad a 10. So it's just like, if everybody, of all the 5 people on the podcast don't like a movie, you're a terrible person. This has kind of been like that again because there's been so many hot takes of Bird of Prey. There's Birds of Prey people that want this to fail, right? There's pieces of shit that don't like that it's women. You've seen it trending if you're on social media as far as like people talking about like, oh, look at them. They're, putting the sex down. They don't look sexy, these girls. Those girls look tremendously beautiful and gorgeous. But the thing is, some people are just finding any reason to find it fail. And if that's what you care about, I don't know. There's plenty of free porn sites out there that will not get you any viruses. Just type up Harley Quinn, type up DC, and you can get your fix there. So people that do that are just like, the losers in the basement roll around potato chips and they have no gauge of what's going on in the real world. So that's great. Or they're just trying to get clicks. And that's where that sucks too. But then it's like, well, it works, right? Because there's that outrage culture. So you got that going on, and you got people that maybe are not a big fan of the Harley Quinn character. You got people that aren't a fan of DC, or then you got the reverse opposite where they're a fan of everything DC. There's been lots like hot takes, not as much as Joker, but a lot leading up to this. And now that's come out, the movie was, and this is tough with projections, right? Because projections are outside sources that do this. It's like our arbitrary number that someone creates that because of our information, we have this. Where it's the same thing, and that's been a big thing that I've had a problem with these past few days. Most of the times they're opinions or educated guesses. No one really knows. And that's what's happening with Birds of Prey. So let's just say Birds of Prey was expected to be somewhere 55 million. Comes in this weekend. I think the final, at the time this recording, final numbers aren't in, but it's like 33 million estimation. So maybe it's a little higher, a little lower. But obviously lower than expected by some sources, and it's the lowest opening in the DCU. And it's all these hot takes of why did it happen, things like that. And I'm going to get into 5 reasons. 5 reasons that I either believe, like not separately, but I mean, it is separately, but I mean like these 5 reasons aren't collectively why I think some of them are, but some of them are just been thrown around. And I'm going to comment on each one. And I'm going to start with the biggest one for me. And this is why I put this in a tweet this week. And this is like the one I'd have to say that I think is like, if I had to put them in order, would be the top one. But there's other things that are just as close to it. It's the same thing. This is very similar to Solo, right? There's many reasons why it could have went this way. And for me, and it is a big thing, and that's why I'll explain it. And, that's a good thing in conversation. There's nuance here. I'm a little, worked up this week because it's just like some people... And it sucks with Twitter, too, because I think you lose a lot in translation. So I think there's certain conversations I had with people where even I might misunderstand things they're saying or they're misunderstanding things I say. But it sucks when you kind of have a cool, fun relationship with somebody or you've worked with them in the past and stuff and just kind of takes a bad turn. And, like, I remember certain people I've talked to before and was like, oh, yeah, we'd always hate when have a conversation with fans where you disagree. But when you go right to like the yelling and like, you're wrong and you are having the worst opinion in the world. It's like I said, like Birds of Prey. I said, if I had to pick one main reason, there's many reasons, but if I had to pick one, I said, I think Suicide Squad has a lot to do with it. You would have think that I said, like, if you like Zack Snyder or the foreign DC movies, you're a racist or you kill dogs. Like, some people's reaction, and you can go check on my Twitter, see a thread. Lots of people react as far as like a good conversation, good thread. And everyone on my podcast, Dylan, Taylor, they disagree with my take, but we had good conversations about, and we probably will in the future. But some people just, I don't know. I think they don't like that certain people attack the Zack Snyder kind of creations and whatnot, and it sucks because they're just movies, and people get so worked up, and that's why I'm not annoyed by people not liking my take. I'm annoyed by like, oh, right. And that's why I was talking about the old DC movies. And of course it happens with Marvel. Maybe it hasn't happened to us because I think we do like Marvel a bit more around here in general. But it reminded me of that, like, right, you can't have a conversation. People just jump to, this is the worst opinion of all time and you're wrong no matter what you say. there's many things that I disagree with, and I go, oh, I don't think though, and that's one of the reasons I'll bring up too, like the R rating. I don't really think that has a big thing to do with it, but if you do, and I see your points, I can see where you're coming from, and I understand that. I don't necessarily agree, but all right, I see where you're coming from. Or even if I don't, I respect your opinion, and they're just opinions on movies, and that's the thing that sucks is people that kind of seem cool can go off the deep end for movies and never do that. Like it comes off really lame, and it comes off kind of pathetic, and it's just like I had multiple people with this conversation message me like, oh man, like ew, like that's gross that people like go that route, and for me I get a good chuckle at it. Some certain situations I didn't, because it was people I considered friends, so it's just like, okay, you just stop following that person, you move on, because you're like, we're not gonna have any good conversations, and hopefully down the line maybe you call a truce or see eye to eye, but it's just some people get weird about movies, and it sucks. And that's what we try to go here at Geek First. Even anytime you hear me, Dylan, and Taylor, we disagree on stuff all the time. Kirkland is Switzerland all the time. He's always, I see your point. I say he's the best in the world at that. But they're just movies, and there's many times where me and the group have disagreed on things, but I don't think our takes on movies, games, and TV shows have ever been one of the things where it's like, hey, I strongly agree on this route, I strongly agree on this route, and then we have a disagree, like a problem. It's never been like that. Me and Taylor, the one time we got closest, and here's a personal story before getting to Birds of Prey, was honestly Jurassic World 2. We've memed about that a few times, but me and Taylor loved Jurassic World 2. And I hate it. I think it's one of the worst movies I've ever seen in the theaters. And we both kind of I think had a little disagreement as far as he felt I was being a bit too harsh in the way that, and I retroactively went, you know what, maybe because we misunderstood or misunderstood each other, and that's why you talk it out. And that's me and Taylor, put the match aside. We have some problems, but at some points we're really good best friends because we can disagree, but then you talk it out and you find that common ground. That's why I'm always having dialogue. And he kind of came to me and said, hey, I kind of felt like you weren't taking shots at the movie. I felt like you were taking shots at people that enjoyed the movie. And I went, hey, I didn't mean it that way. And if I did, I really apologize. I'm sorry for that. And I took it as like he wanted to stifle how I reviewed a movie. And he went, no, not at all. Like I want you to review it however you are. And that's the same thing that both me and him maybe reacted a bit too much, but at the same time, we both misunderstood each other. You talk, you find a common ground, you high five. Those are the best thing on Twitter sometimes too. There's lots of people I follow where it's like an argument is kind of starting, and I always try to backpedal. I always try to calm down, like, okay, what do you mean by this? Or this is what I mean. And then you follow each other. And I'm not going to name drop them, but it's just, that's the best thing is conversation at all the time. It's the same thing, whether it's movies, whether it's life, whether it's especially, states, good luck in 2020, politics. That's all it's down is conversating with some people and not just 100% go in the conversation and think I'm right. No matter what this person says, don't just, it's like what they say in Pulp Fiction. Some conversations people are just waiting so they can speak, waiting for their turn to speak. That's not a conversation. You're dictating the conversation. So been lots of strange takes on Twitter. People, again, they're just movies. And that's why today, if I say anything that gets me mad, just reevaluate. If I say hey, people with blonde hair are all stupid, one, that's me, so I'm offending myself, but then fine. But if it's about movies and opinions, then I always say this, there's many shows out there to go listen to that will probably support your opinion. We're always about having fun here and celebrating different opinions. So there's my little rant. So Suicide Squad, I want to talk about that. So Suicide Squad is a movie came out 4 years ago. To me, came out in the hype of we're starting the DCEU, we're starting our own MCU, everything's gonna be connected, blah 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 blah. That's a Suicide Squad quote. So people, and this is where I'll I'm not gonna name drop anybody again, but this is where I'll go and press against people that go, well, how could Suicide Squad have any effect on Birds of Prey? Wonder Woman came out and Aquaman came out and they were massive hits. I don't see the correlation. Your argument is dead. Okay. So as far as Marvel and DC, there is, and the general audience, which is going to be a big thing in this conversation, there is the majority of them probably don't know who is what. Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest directors of all time, had all these comments about Marvel, and then months later came out and said, yeah, I don't know the difference between Marvel and DC. I'm talking about all superhero movies, or majority, something like that. And that was my favorite, because every DC hardcore fanboy was like, look, Martin Scorsese doesn't like the Marvel movies, DC all the way. It's like you think he's watching Suicide Squad or BVS and being like, this is cinema. No, he ain't. So I think along Martin Scorsese, there's lots of people that don't know the difference for characters, for groups, things like that. All they see is this character was in this movie and now they're in this movie. Harley Quinn wasn't in Wonder Woman. She wasn't in Aquaman. She wasn't in Shazam. She's in Birds of Prey and Suicide Squad. So even if people tangentially just know this is a superhero movie with Margot Robbie, they go, oh, she was in Squad and now she's in this one. That's a sequel to Squad. People can say spin-off, yada, yada, yada. It kind of is, but it's still a sequel. It still has something that could do with it. And the thing is, people go, oh, I don't understand. Because Squad, I would feel, even the people that like that movie, majority, at least people I talk to, and it's all in my bubble, right? Whether it be online, whether it be in person, it's just about your experience as life. My experiences is either people hate that movie, like myself, or they look at it, they go, it is the weakest of those DC kind of EU movies up until Justice League, right? And we'll get into Justice League in a second. But Justice League, because there's a bunch of controversy about Snyder versus Whedon. But up until that point, I think everyone would agree that is the weakest. So you get a lot of people that thought, and again, it comes in the conversation of money, and that becomes a web we weave, because you have stuff like Transformers that make billions of dollars, and then do lots of people love that? No, but then lots of people still go see it. So that's a hard thing to gauge. So I've had that thrown me about, look at Suicide Squad, it made $750 million. That means lots of people must like it. That could be like a really popular restaurant opening in your town that everybody else loves, but in your city it tastes gross. You could still have all those people that went there to go pay for it, but they don't know it's good. It's the same reason, like, the most insane take I've seen this weekend is, well, Justice League bombed because it was a Frankenstein movie and it had troubled production and it switched directors from Zack Snyder to Whedon and people weren't having any of it. In the general audience, no one knew a fuck about that. 5% maybe saw a headline of it switching directors or Joss Whedon taking over. And even then, people say that, like, maybe, okay, a hardcore DCE fanboy might hate Joss Whedon, but Joss Whedon directed $2 billion films that were generally well received in both the Avengers movies. He has Buffy, he has Serenity, he has lots of stuff. So it's not like you Bull took over and someone's like, oh my god, he's directing Justice League now? What's gonna Joss Whedon, who's like a popular comic book director, took over, and you're telling me that people rebelled? No, it's because this is the comparison I made. I said that Suicide Squad we're seeing the repercussions of Suicide Squad for Birds of Prey the same way Justice League was for BVS. And then I get the thrown at me, oh, well, Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was loved in Batman versus Superman, so I think a lot of people were willing to go see that movie. Plus, it was very well reviewed, and it was one of the, to me, a real female-led film. That sounds bad because there's things like Elektra and Supergirl, but this felt like we're finally getting a big budget, huge mainstream movie, and we're getting all the momentum put behind it by Warner Brothers. So that's why, for me, people love that character. It's a spin-off movie. It has a different thing to do. It has nothing to do with Justice League and the Team and Steppenwolf. And that's the same thing as Aquaman. Everyone says Aquaman was a joke. He was. But the same thing is Aquaman was still a classic character that a lot of people knew before an Iron Man, before Thor, before Captain America. The idea of the man who swims and talks to fish, lots of people knew, right? So Wonder Woman and Aquaman are spin-offs, and they have nothing to do with the situation that was in BVS or Justice League. And then to me, Justice League was, oh, look, you have Superman back. You got Batman, Ben Affleck's Batman. It's that same kind of feel. It's what was set up in BVS. BVS was, we got to get together. Justice League is the get together. And to me, it was, I don't care. You can have your conspiracy theories about it being about Zack Snyder and the production companies. I think in the next few weeks, you can make that case. Second week, third week, that's why people didn't turn out. Because they hear that, they get wind of it maybe. First week, no. Opening weekend is all about promotion. It's all about hype. It's all about reviews, and it's all about what did people think about your last movie if it's a sequel. So I think Justice League suffered because people saw BVS and were like, meh, not really into it. BVS should be $1 billion movie, and it wasn't. Justice League should be $1 billion movie, and it wasn't. So BVS disappointed a lot of people. We have talked about this all the time. This is coming from somebody that really likes it and does defend it. Yeah, I don't think it's a good movie, but I love the moments in that. That's great performances. But people are still have revisionist history. You know, they do that about Man of Steel all the time. Like, oh yeah, Man of Steel was loved. No, it wasn't. When Man of Steel came out, it was so divisive. It's been divisive since this universe has started. So people just love to forget and remember what helps their arguments. So that's why for me, Wonder Woman Aquaman, different story. You haven't seen Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn since Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad, to me in general, did not get a good reception from my point of view, from what I see. Made lots of money, overperformed. Okay, fine. And sometimes there's things like Venom. Somehow it overperformed. And I get it. People, of course, went back. Maybe they went back second times. But to me, they did not come back enough to see Birds of Prey. That could mean lots of things. That could legitimately mean that even myself have misrepresented that I thought Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn was a bigger IP. I really did. Like a Deadpool, Ryan Reynolds, like Hugh Jackman. I think the performances is still on par. She's on that icon status, like this is her character. But maybe as a moneymaker, it's not as much as I thought, which is a shame because I hope we get more. I really do. Check out our review. I love Birds of Prey. Favorite DC movie, one of my favorite comic book movies. I absolutely adore this movie. But maybe it is that, hey, it's not as marketable as that character. Maybe it's still newer. The thing is, though, and this is where I'm getting into my first point, Suicide Squad. Birds of Prey. Let's start with Suicide Squad. Suicide Squad has Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. And it's about a group of individuals that are kind of kooky, kind of villainous, kind of darker, that shouldn't be working together, that are coming together to beat something. And it's also a kind of very colorful, people have called it hot topic-like movie, right? What's Birds of Prey? It stars Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn. It's about a bunch of misfits, a bunch of characters that shouldn't be teaming up together, but are forced to team together to stop a greater evil, and it has a hot topic-y color-like vibe, right? Of course, there's tons of stuff different. I'm going to get into that. But on the core, from just like looking at it, it looks like a sequel. It looks like, oh, look, Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn is with a different group of people. The same way as Squad, right? And I think there's a lot of people that went, you know what, last time I saw that, I'm good. Even if they like Squad, maybe went, I don't need to pay to see this. I can wait till Cheap Tuesday. Whatever it was, in my opinion, I think that does go, hey, I went on this ride. I don't need to go on it again right now. Maybe in the future, maybe at home, maybe on Netflix, maybe on the Warner Brothers HBO Max. But to go make time, take 3 hours out of my night, I'd say, because yeah, it's a 2-hour movie, but you got to drive to theater, you got to drive back, maybe get dinner, maybe you have kids, you got to get them watched. Take 3 hours out of my night to go pay, to get the popcorn and everything like that to see this movie. Because to me, what I saw in Suicide Squad was the way it was. Then no, because people go, what was the proof people didn't like Suicide Squad? I think this is some of it. I really do. Because I think a lot of the things, like I said, Aquaman, Wonder Woman, of course, they're all potentially combined. But then I throw right back at you and people go, oh, Zack Snyder. But Wonder Woman was a big hit. Justice League was not, right? So I think people in the general audience still look at it as a case-by-case basis. As far as DC, Marvel, that's a different conversation because they've made it as like a TV show now. You've made it that you really don't want to miss some. And they still have ones like Ant-Man 2 that are hits, but they're not massive hits, right? So that's number one. I really do think Suicide Squad had a lot to do with it. And again, whether you're watching this on YouTube, if you're listening to it, head over to Twitter, head over to Facebook, my description down below for Twitter. Find me and talk. I love conversation. If you want to have a legitimate conversation, say, hey, Travis, I heard you out, but these are the points you're wrong. And if you don't want to do name calling and you don't want to do like hot takes and quote tweets and try and use bully tactics, then I'm all for it. I'm all for conversation. So that's my number one. Here's one that I disagree with, and this is the R rating. I've heard this thrown out a lot. It's tough, right? Because the R-rated comic book movie is still relatively new. We had it with Blade. We've had it with Hellboy and stuff like that. But in the last few years, we had Logan. We had Deadpool. We had, oh man, why am I forgetting? Joker, obviously, big thing. And that made $1 billion, right? And the other ones have been hits. And I had a good conversation again with this tweet that I put out there with somebody saying that that's what they thought because a lot of young girls, loved Harley Quinn. And that's why I was talking about the popularity of her. When Suicide Squad came out, that costume was everywhere. But that's my counters. When Suicide Squad came out, I was legal age to go clubbing, go to the bars. And when I went Halloween that night, yeah, sure, there was maybe some younger people walking around outside or maybe when you're driving by. But there was a lot of girls at the club that were dressed as Harley Quinn. Almost, you could look by and every second girl was a Harley Quinn from Suicide Squad. Dazzle Monster, the booty shorts, everything like that. So for me, I get you do cut off a lot of the audience. And that's the point this guy made that from Suicide Squad, if there's anyone that was younger age, you cut them off. So I do understand that. And it's harder for us to gauge here in Canada because lots of radar movies are just rated PG-14 over here. We don't have as strict codes. So that's why for me, it's like I see a lot of people like my sister because saw Squad and still saw this. So I do understand that. I just think I don't buy into this as much. Of course, it could have affected it, but Joker just made $1 billion. Those other 3 films that I mentioned were hits. And I just still feel like, 1, the audience was old enough to go and support this. And 2, I feel like a lot of those people, even though it's 4 years later, because it's 4 years later, might be of legal age now. And I saw Harley Quinn when I was, I'll go with Canada because I don't remember. I think America, you're 21 legal age. Here it's 19. So, I saw the Harley Quinn Suicide Squad movie when I was 15. Now I'm 19. I can go see this rated R movie, which I don't even think it's rated R here, but I can go see it here now. I think there's a lot of people like that. Because from my point of view, was there tons of people under the age of 15 that really love Squad? Maybe I'm missing that. I'll have to find people of that age and say, hey, when you were 10, was Suicide Squad the movie for you? And maybe it was, but I just don't think it was enough of a group to not go see this and to really kill the numbers. That's my opinion. And people have had some good takes about it. I just disagree with them, but maybe it did. Maybe it did cut off such a big portion of Suicide Squad that it's done. Number 3 is the marketing. This one is tough for me because I agree more in retrospect, but I can agree a bit more now because as I listen to a lot of reviews, I try not to listen to any reviews before we do our own. I don't want to get any things in my head. And especially I did that early on, but then you would hear people kind of say things about a movie and then you'd be like, you'd be kind of comparing it as you're watching it. So I didn't like that. So I stopped doing that. And I listen to them all now. When I listen to a lot of my favorite podcasters, and Kirklin felt this way, Taylor not like a little bit, but as more people have talked about it, have been like, oh yeah, I really like Birds of Prey. I wasn't a big fan of the trailers. And that was different for me because in the moment, and this is where, hey, I always do my hashtag Trash Told You, right? I said that about Joker. I said that about Logan. I said that about Black Panther, that these are going to be big special movies and they're going to be massive hits. I think I was right about this as far as quality. As far as box office, hashtag Travis told you wrong because I thought it was going to be a similar Guardians, have a really good, solid opening, and then just word of mouth will keep chugging along. I'm hoping next week is Valentine's Day. I think, like I said in my review, I think it's a great breakup movie. I'm hoping a lot of single girls, especially, go out Valentine's Day to have a kick-ass night and see this, especially on Valentine's Day. I think it really plays. I don't think Sonic's much of a danger. So I think other until Invisible Man, which might not be that big, they could have the next little while to really be chugging along. Look at something like Knives Out. Knives Out came out, had a good opening, and then every week since then, it's just been making like solid like a 10 million here, a 12 million, 5 million. This week, it was out of the top 10 last week. It came back in and made like another 5 million. That's what you want Birds of Prey to be. Different because I'm pretty sure Knives Out is PG-13, right? If not, then good on it for being rated R, but I'm pretty sure it's PG-13. So that is a bit tougher with repeat viewings, but hey, Joker did that. So that's the only hope, that word of mouth goes around and people are watching it, people are talking about it, and they want to go see it. Because I also think there's a lot of people, and that's what we're talking about marketing, didn't know it was coming out. Liam, who doesn't love superhero movies that much anymore, but usually still has an idea when he come out. When we talk about Oscar prediction, he's like, oh, that's out right now. And I've caught a lot of that recently. If people are going, oh, I didn't know it was out. If you ask me, is it going to have those legs? I'm a 50-50 because I think it's good. I think it will spread. I've been telling people that haven't, oh, I didn't know it was out. I'm going to go see that. Or did you like it? Oh, I'll go see that. But it's tough too because when you have that low of an opening, it's just, for me, it's indicative. If I had to put 1 to 51%, I think it will make its money back and be profitable, but just above making its money back, just above making even. Because if you don't know this, you have to take a movie, and not every movie is like this. It depends on the size, but for a budget, everyone always looks at it and goes, oh, well, it made 80 million this weekend, and the rumored budget is like 85 million. So it's going to be profitable. P&A, print and advertising. If you have, and this is like I said, not every movie is like this, but to be the highest, to be safest, you have to, and with general, this happens a lot, take its budget and double it. So what? That's about 160. And some places I've seen all over. I've seen 9 million, I've seen 85, I've seen 100 million. Let's go the worst, and let's say it's 100 million. You got to double it. It has to make 200 million. So it's made 80 million now. For it to have a $30 million opening weekend and now have to go on to make another over 120 million to be profitable, that's tough. The good thing is you got toys, you got costumes, you got Blu-ray stuff like that. This is not a huge financial bomb. This is not a flop, but it is a disappointment. And that's the same thing people talk about with Shazam all the time, and they go like, they're so hyper, like, oh, it bombed, or oh no, it was great, it was a big hit. You know, like, it didn't bomb. Look at this. People always, again, they don't factor in the actual advertising budget. It was a hit, but it wasn't a massive hit. It just made some money. It was good. It's making a sequel. So clearly Warner Brothers goes, you know what? Because of the money we made and because of it got really good reviews, good word of mouth, maybe people with a second go will say, oh, I saw Shazam because I didn't see it in the theaters, but I heard great things. I saw it at home. I'm excited for a sequel. That's what I'm hoping happens with Birds of Prey, that eventually people see it. But Shazam was not a massive hit. You can kind of be underwhelming or a disappointing box office movie, but still be a hit. Same way as BVS. That was a disappointing box office run, but it was still a hit. And so many people work in hyper or are hyperbolic about box office. You know, this is a disappointment and it's underwhelming, but it still will probably be profitable. Not huge, not a runaway hit, not enough to be, I would say, like, let's say if this came out with the 50, 60 million and then the next week had 30 million, I think right away you'd hear, oh, we're doing Birds of Prey 2, even without Harley Quinn. So it's tough. And if I have to lean to it, I think it will just be just that above breaking even and it'll make some money, but nothing out of this world, nothing that maybe could get us a sequel, but not right away. And I think a sequel, which I'll get into in a second, will need a lot more juice behind it. So, and the other last thing I would say for marketing is, like I said, I talked to a lot of people, heard a lot of people that said I didn't like the trailers. For me, I loved all the trailers, and Dylan did too. So it was, not just I thought everyone did, but I didn't think it was that bad. Lots of times when there's a universally panned trailer, I feel like most people I talk to feel that way. So this was maybe like a 60-40, and not even that it was a pan trailer, just maybe people weren't into it. They didn't know what the plot of the story was other than just a bunch of girls getting together in a group. So fair enough. For me is the title, Birds of Prey. And what is the rest of it there? Oh my goodness. Though, Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Cute title, fun title, maybe great title as far as having the balls to do it. It should have just been called Harley Quinn and the Birds of Prey. Because I saw another thing too of lots of people making this argument, and I agree with it too, is when you open up everybody does movie apps, I imagine. When you open your movie apps, most of the places it says Birds of Prey, and then you got like the barriers or whatever, the brackets, and says like the Emancipation One, Fantabulous, whatever, blah, blah. Most of the time, the word Harley Quinn gets cut off. And especially they use that Birds of Prey post that's really arty and Harley Quinn's small on it. I do think, and we've talked about this for a Bumblebee, we've talked about there's a reason why Rogue One and Solo are a Star Wars story. Did that help Solo? No, but I think that's for many other reasons. Same thing with Bumblebee. Do people know who Bumblebee was? If you would have said Bumblebee something from Transformers, maybe it would have helped. I think title is important. Not as far as like the quality of like if you go Harley Quinn and whatever the and is, that's fine. But having Harley Quinn to know, hey, this is Joker's girlfriend, this is that main character from Suicide Squad, this is Margot Robbie, this is Harley Quinn's movie, because really, it's Harley Quinn's movie. It's not the Birds of Prey movie. It should have been called Birds of Prey, but it's Harley Quinn and Birds of Prey or something like that. I do think that has a lot to do with it, because I think that's a lot of people too go, oh, there's this Harley Quinn movie out, what's that? Even Kirklin talked about in the review where he talked about people at his work being like, oh, what is that? Oh, it's this one. Oh, okay, I know Harley Quinn. So I think that's where they did make some mistakes there. So, and maybe that's why they were trying to keep advertising budget down and maybe hold back for just some people just were saying that they didn't see many ads or didn't think they were good. I don't know. So that one's tough, but I can see that case for the marketing more than the radar. The other thing is star power. The reason I say this is because I remember a few years ago this conversation of like Birds of Prey or Gotham City Siren. Which one's going to happen? I think let's say we're in this exact same situation. Movie reviews the same way. People like it. And it's Gotham City Sirens. I think I'll at least say the box office for sure hits the 55 to 60 million, even more so. Or could even do more so than that. Suicide Squad, one had the hype of we're doing a universe, right? Everyone's getting excited. Big opening. 129 million. Great for that movie. Overperformed big time. What it also had was you had Margot Robbie, who was on this uprise after Wolf of Wall Street. She was kind of becoming the it girl. I think she is the it girl now, or one of them, but she was becoming that. She had that Sable and WWF effect, right? Every girl wanted to be her. Every guy wanted to be with her. That was a straight man. You know, it was just Wolf of Wall Street really raised her stock all around. And she's a phenomenal actress. I think she should be an Oscar winner. She's one of the best going right now, along with like Florence Pugh and Regina King. They're destroying it. But you had her on the uprise, like, okay, hot young star going, not hot in the, not the looks, just hot, like, good career building. So that's one. You had, to me, the universe starting up. That's some hype, even though BVS was a little wonky. It was like, okay, maybe the next one could tie in. But still, so you had BVS. Talking about BVS, or like talking about the universe, you had Batman. They used Batman in the previews. You knew Ben Affleck's Batman were going to be in it. You didn't know how much, but he's there. You had a new Joker. Time to me, I don't know if I want to give it an additional point, but even then, let's say Jared Leto. Jared Leto has lots of fans. He's a well-known name. He's an Oscar winner. 30 Seconds to Mars. People love that band. It's like a cult-like. Have you seen those things he did in the summer? He runs like a cult-like thing with his fans. It's midsummer stuff. It's nuts. So you got these 5 points ready. To me, Return of the Joker is big. This is the first Joker after Heath Ledger. Everyone was dying to see that performance. You can go back in our newscast. I was not a fan of the tattoos, but I always said, I think Jared Leto's going to be a great Joker. He's a good actor. It didn't go down that way, but people were very curious to see what is going to happen because he's an iconic character, and anybody playing the Joker, it's going to be big. And maybe that's why Joaquin Phoenix is $1 billion thing, because the Joker to me is, I won't even say next to Darth Vader. I think he's surpassed Darth Vader as he is the villain. He is the most popular villain in any pop culture. DC has that. The Joker is just a name that every actor wants to play, every fan wants to see. There's always these new interpretations of versions you can do with it. So you got those five right there, and then the other one is you got Will Smith. Will Smith, look at that, $1 billion movie, maybe on his own, not the biggest, but even Bad Boy. Bad Boys is doing great at the box office. So he still has the juice. He still has the star power. So to me, those are six things you got there, right? You got Hot Star and Margot Robbie. You got the universe excitement. You got Jared Leto. You got Joker. You got Batman. And then you got Will Smith. That's six big things going for this. What do you got in Birds of Prey? Margot Robbie is Harley Quinn. That to me is it. What else is there? What else really is there going for this movie other than, hopefully if you like the trailers, which sounds like it's 50-50 for people now. What else do you have? Think about that. Like, what's the big thing going this you could tell me? You don't have any big characters. No one who's, I was thrilled, and that's why I love this movie. I was thrilled they did Black Mass. Black Mass has been always one of my favorite Batman films. Here's a little spoiler. If I was ever lucky enough, I have a treatment written for my very first Batman movie that will probably never be made. But Black Mass was the villain for that. I love Black Mass. I always wanted him to get a spotlight. I hated what they did to him Origins with that twist. You can go play the game and find out. They just did him so dirty. No one knows who the fuck Black Mass is, and Ewan McGregor's not a big star. Ewan McGregor is, people like him, and I think him as Obi-Wan is a big star. That's different. People paired with different IP, that's important. But Ewan on his own, he's not opening a movie. So actors-wise, you got Margot Robbie, who I'm still counting as one. She's maybe not the hot young uprise now, but she is the established, everyone loves Margot Robbie, what she does, and she's very popular. You have that, and you have Harley Quinn. So maybe you can give it two, but I still count it as one. No big other actors. The Birds of Prey are relatively unknown to even Mary-Elizabeth Winstead that I feel film Twitter and film fans know and love her, but my mom doesn't know who that is. Does your mom? If she does, she's in more in the know than lots of other moms. So no big stars, no big characters. And that's where it comes with Gotham City Sirens, where it's like Poison Ivy, Catwoman, Harley Quinn. Poison Ivy and Catwoman are iconic characters, especially Catwoman. No Batgirl for being like, even if you had, I know Oracles and Birds of Prey, but maybe if you spun and went, we're not going to do Oracle, but we're going to do Barbara/Batgirl on this, that'd be big. That's a character, another bat-like figure. Like I said, what do you have? And I think that's a big thing to do is people, especially with crossover and stuff like that, people love seeing other people interact. And that's why I do think, and I really hope that Warner Brothers gives them one more shot at this. She's in Suicide Squad coming out next, which that and New Mutants I'm really worried about. But Squad really needs to deliver because I'm hoping it's big and maybe they go, okay, people still want to see Harley Quinn's Margot Robbie. They love that character. But Birds of Prey was a little lesser. What could we do? She wants to do Gotham City Sirens. I think you do the Birds of Prey versus Gotham City Sirens, and you lead to some big villain as well. You can make it that she has these new friends. That's how you bring back Birds of Prey, because they kind of, I'm not going to say anything spoilers, but they kind of made that they might be on different tracks. So that's how you get her interacting with her old pals, is maybe they're kind of against each other, and you do the classic, but there's a greater threat at the end they got to go against, but then they go their own ways because, hey, these sirens are bad girls, they're criminals, but these Birds of Prey are vigilantes, right? So I think that's what to do. You add some juice. You get some big actors in there, actresses, you cast Poison Ivy and Catwoman right with some names, and then you put up the juice. Maybe you throw in a Batgirl. I think the collection of that, and then I think Birds of Prey will simmer and be seen a lot because I think Suicide Squad coming out next year will help. Some people, which a lot of people do with mainstream and general audiences, they'll see Suicide Squad and go, oh, I didn't see that last one with Harley Quinn. I should probably see that before I get to this. And I do think word of mouth is, I feel most people, even if they don't feel the same way about me as Birds of Prey, most people have been relatively happy or surprised with it or enjoyed it. So I think it will help, and that's why I think it's worth one more go. The same way Shazam is worth one more go. I'm not a big fan of Shazam. Shazam's pretty low in my DCU, but I enjoyed it. But I'm still like, people loved it. It didn't have the biggest money, but I think enough people will watch it and like it. And especially you got The Rock coming in, who's going to do his Black Adam movie, and then he's going to jump over that. Oh, gee, look, it creates that kind of shared universe that had Suicide Squad, right? If you have something going there, and that's why I'm with everybody else, I would love it. But if you, let's say you do Flashpoint and you change some things up and you do have Zoe Kravitz' Catwoman that's in Pattinson interacting with Margot Robbie, Harley Quinn, or Robert Pattinson's Batman interacting, People still love that. I'm not saying look at Joker. Films that are by themselves can be hits. I'm not saying every film has to be a crossover, but people still like that. There's still an appeal to seeing this character and this character you didn't think we were going to talk, or people that are alluded talking about Batman and seeing her with Harley Quinn. People still like that. That's a big genre right now. So those are my things. And then my fifth one, which, of course, it gets thrown around all the time, right? And I disagree with it, but is superhero fatigue. This one, because the only reason I will give this a little credence for now, and I'm not going to say yes this because I still think it's a no. I think this is still going to be a hit, still going to make money. If it was a full-on bomb, which maybe next week, let's say next week it comes out, second weekend it made $1 million. Then it's like, okay, it did bomb. Then I would start to believe, okay, maybe there's some of that. I think the Suicide Squad genre, that's a scary genre. The superhero genre has a big hurdle after Endgame. And I know DC fans are probably mad about this. And, it doesn't affect DC. I think it does because Marvel and Endgame hitting a home run with that ending and it being this end of a 22 saga, there are many people I've talked to that go, I'm kind of done with Marvel movies for now. I'm done with comic book movies. Not that they're not going to watch them, but I got to the end of the journey. It's the same way Return of the Jedi, when that ended, there was a long wait until Force Awakens. Lord of the Rings, we never got that follow-up, and that's why the Hobbits were so big, because it wasn't a follow-up, but it was in that world. We're living in an age where we got this big, we did it. We were here for 10 years. We saw, people like my mother saw every 22 movies, 23, just to be like a part of that journey. And I think with Spider-Man hitting 1 billion, and with Joker, that's a whole different ballgame. And that's where you could throw in my face and say, well, you're wrong. Joker did that, and say, yeah, you got me. This is just a theory. It's an opinion. I think Joker's just so off on his own, and I think Joker was more hit nerve in our culture. That says more about Joker being hit to me says less about superhero genre and more about the film-going audience, about stuff, people cancel culture and people being like, don't see this movie, it's going to cause violence. People going like, I want to see this movie. What are people talking about? That had a lot more to do with the mainstream, I think. Spider-Man, I think, kind of got the rewards of Endgame being, okay, Endgame was the end, a big sigh, but let's see, it is like, what did happen in the world after Endgame? Like, let's see what happened. We love Tom Holland's, I don't feel so good. Let's see what happened. But I think there was, not universal, but a big group of people going, a sigh of relief, I did it. And I'm good with superhero movies for a while, especially Endgame, whatever you want to say, but that ending is so epic, and it kind of, to me, has a great conclusion for almost every character we've cared about in the 10 years, the main ones. So that's where I feel like comic book movies do in general have a hurdle to get over, because it's just how, when you kind of reach a peak, and whether you like the movie, love it, whatever, it is a peak because it's the biggest movie of all time. When you reach a peak that high, usually you fall down. Am I saying every comic book movie needs to be $1 billion? No. Am I saying that Endgame or every movie has to hit Endgame's level and be the 1 or 2 or 3 biggest movie of all time? No. But I'm just saying that there could be some effects after, can we get to that high point? Would that be looked upon as, and some people theorize that as the point where it does turn and superhero fatigue comes in and goes away, the Western or anything like that, or samurai films, and people go, okay, I'm good for a while, and we get them a bit more sporadically. I'm still saying no, because I am that person. I'm playing devil's advocate that does go look at Joker. I do things more mainstream, but still it's comic film. You got Spider-Man. Birds of Prey, meh, but that's why I want to see what Wonder Woman does. I want to see what Black Widow does. New Mutants, that one's tough because I feel like, sure, maybe it might bomb. People might go superhero fatigue, but I just think there's just not much hype behind that. I think that's a different podcast for a different day, but I'm talking about those big ones. I'm talking about Wonder Woman. I'm talking about Black Widow, and I am talking about Venom and maybe Morbius. Morbius not so much because they're trying to do a vampire thing, but Venom for sure. And if those movies start to go down, if Venom 2 to me is the same thing. I think it will do less than the first one because a lot of people liked it less. And people go, oh, no, there's some different reason. Get out of here. But Wonder Woman, Black Widow, we'll have to see. So those are some of the reasons. Let me know if you agree with them, disagree with them, if there's any other reasons I'm missing that you think is a reason why Birds of Prey isn't doing so hot. As I said in the review, if you haven't seen this, go see it. It's a great movie. It's something different. That's what bugs me, that lots of people go, hey, I want something different comic book genre. You get it. And then people, I'm good. Let's go see the big, and Joker was that. Joker did that well. Logan did that. So maybe sometimes just things are going to go by the wayside. But things like Spider-Verse, things like this, it sucks because you want people to see those comic movies that aren't more generic and aren't more just mainlined and see, hey, this is something different. So go see it, please and thank you. Let's talk about some Marvel news, and then we got the Oscars, and then that'll be about it. I'll be out here, and these ones will not be as long as that Birds of Prey conversation. Doctor Strange 2 gets a new director. I haven't talked about this all. They lost Scott Derrickson. Rumored Sam Raimi's in talks. In talks means they're figuring out situations, probably talking money, etc., etc. I am so excited if this does happen. So this was another hot button one last week of like it seemed very 50-50 that people were very excited or people were like, Spider-Man 3, Oz Great and Powerful. I love Oz Great and Powerful. I'm a stand for that movie. That is a movie that so many times I'd put on like back to back to back days just to go to sleep to. I don't know why. It was just soothing. Good movie. I get what people say, and people always go to like, oh, Sam Raimi, he's a visionary director. He might not be able to work in the Marvel confines. For me, I always find that happens later on, and people throw in Spider-Man 3 and like, look how that movie turned out. He did Spider-Man 1 and Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3 was happening, and that's when a lot of hands got on the pot. We want you to do this, and he was already there, so I feel like he feels, well, this is my baby, I want to finish it out. To me, and why I don't agree with people saying, oh, he's going to be driven out. It's going to be like Edgar Wright. He's going to try, and he's going to get pushed back against, and he's going to leave. The reason I don't think that is because I think he knows what he's going into. I think it's kind of like a director, like when Tarantino was talking about taking on Star Trek. He's not doing that anymore, but when he was, it would be someone else writing it, and that's why I didn't think he would do it. But they were in talks, but that was just more of a rumor. Like literally, they're just talking in talks as far as this report, and it came from Justin Kroll of Variety, who's like a scooper right now. In talks in that world is, hey, they are figuring it out, and what could we do money wise, financially, everything like that. To me, if they laid it out on the table and they said, we need to do this, and this, but then have your style going, I think we're not going to have any problems. And I think that, and I'm somebody, even my Birds of Prey review, I do give Marvel a little crap sometimes because some of the films feel a little samey, right? They feel a little like there's a template and you have to hit it. Doctor Strange 1 to me is one of those movies where it just feels so Marvel kind of factory. I don't really love it as much as I want. I still enjoy it. There's still things in that movie I do love, but I feel like it's a big missed opportunity. Where to me, Black Panther, you hear that story Coogler tells of, hey, I went in there and because Ava DuVernay was rumored to direct Black Panther, it didn't happen. So everyone's like, oh, they're trying to force there or whatever. But Ryan Coogler says, hey, I met with Kevin Feige. He laid out a plan, like said, I need these characters to get to this part of the movie, but everything else that happens is up to you. Maybe Feige did this. I don't think Feige was like, I want Killmonger to have a racial slant and really get into the white versus black culture and the history of that. Maybe he did, and then kudos to him. But knowing Ryan Coogler and looking at his past work, I'm going to say that was Coogler's choice. And I'm going to say even Kevin Feige is somebody like, when I want to write movies, I could write something as far as white versus black or white versus any different race, right? But it's just, I don't feel I can tackle that topic the best. It's the same way as Damon Lindelof, right? He show ran Watchmen, but then what did he do? He got a bunch of females, he got a bunch of people of color to write that show and help him out with. You know why? Because as much as I try to relate, as much as I try to go, hey, I could understand these problems, I don't. As much as we check out our Watchmen review. I talked to Kyle, and me and Kyle have many conversations. He's one of my best friends. If you've only listened to audio, he's black. I've never gone through stuff he's had to go through. I'm straight and I'm white. I have the most, easy lifestyle as far as just that. Of course, everyone has trials, tribulations. You lose things, you lose relationships, you have shitty days in life, but as far as just starting off at the base and what our terrible society has kind of punctuated the past few decades, I have that cookie cutter, just easy route. So that's why for me, I go, that's Coogler all the way. And that to me is the best Marvel movies. That's how they pitch it. Sometimes I don't think it always goes that route. I think that's their intention. But if this is, hey, Sam, Scarlet Witch is going to be in, and she's maybe going to set up, let's say, House M. She's going to set this up, and we need the movie to end here with, let's say, Scarlet Witch dead, Doctor Strange going this way, and this stuff changed. Everything else, some dialogue, some jokes, the tone, the way you want to shoot, you can do that. We just need you to hit these story points for us. And Sam Raimi, who hasn't directed in 7 years, might go, hey, I don't mind having something laid out for me, something that's written. He's a massive Doctor Strange fan, so I'm sure he's jumping the chance. And that's why some people would always be like, oh, Kevin Feige, he's not, and maybe this is the case, so I can't do that voice, but I just thought so much like, they won't make a horror movie. I didn't think that was it, to be honest. You can go back through our podcast when we did that. I didn't think that was the main thing. Yeah, maybe sure. I thought it was more, hey, apparently this show ties into Loki and it ties into Scarlet Witch. That could be maybe annoying. The same way we kind of heard rumor that Matt Reeves' Batman was maybe supposed to be a Ben Affleck prequel, but then it was like, well, we need you to do this, this, and this. And maybe eventually he was just like, I just want to do a Batman movie. And they were like, yeah, maybe let's just let him do a Batman movie. I think that's why Scott Derrickson left. Maybe he didn't want to do a bit more horror-ish and like a bit more as close to PG-13. They went, that is too scary, or that is too much for our audience. But if I had to guess, to me it was, hey, you got to fit in all this stuff. And he wanted to tell a different story that didn't want to have that stuff be played with so much. But they go, this is Marvel and we are a TV show, right? You're coming into a direct episode. You're not the showrunner in the series. And maybe Sam Raimi can play ball a bit better. So I'm not really worried. And of course, so you get the conversations, right? Of you got this title, Multiverse of Madness. And you got Sam Raimi, who, again, why I'm happy with him directing this, he directed one of the best superhero origin movies of all time, Spider-Man, which, shoot me, but I think is better than Spider-Man 2. But Spider-Man 2, which many people say is one of the greatest comic movies of all time. Maybe it's dropped down some 10, best of 10 lists, but lots of people still say that. So I am all aboard. He does comic book stuff, he does comedy, he does horror, he does a collection of all that. I give this such a stamp of approval. I can't stamp it enough. As long as he gets that kind of Ryan Coogler effect, right? You got the title of Multiverse Madness, and he directed Spider-Man movies. And you got Tobey Maguire, and everybody's been talking about this since, I don't know, past few years, especially after Spider-Verse. And especially it's been brought back up again with The Flash, Ezra Miller, Grant Gustin kind of scene, right? Of, oh man, don't they want to do this? Because whether or not that scene was good, which I thought it could have been better, it was great to see them together. It was lots of fun, and it was trending. Everyone couldn't talk about it. It was a massive topic for a week, right? If you were to do Toby and Tom in a movie, that's going to be talked about more for weeks. And in a movie where people are going to like, oh my God, they did that, that's going to get word of mouth. People are going to want to see that. What are the chances? Because people are talking about what are the odds if I want to throw a percentage? It's tough. Because to me, in the Coogler effect, if they said this is the plan, I don't feel like Sam's going to come in and be like, okay, but you know what I also want? I want Toby to cameo. You could do the reverse that, because there was this rumor we talked about when we talked about our last news. When we talked about our last newscast, we discussed there was a rumor going around that Doctor Strange might go into different multiverses where you could find an Iron Man, you could find a Captain America, but being played by different actors. Does Doctor Strange go into a different multiverse, and just like House of M, he meets Spider-Man, but Spider-Man is a movie star, and he's not Spider-Man, he has a whole different life, and he's rich and famous and popular and sexy and all this stuff, which is, of course, is Toby. But then when he looks over, it's not Tom Holland playing him, it's Tobey Maguire. I think that's pretty likely. I do want to get the Tom and Toby connection. I do think it's a race between Spider-Verse 2 and Spider-Man live action of like who's going to get Tobey Maguire first, because I just think that is one of the biggest fan pops of all time. I think Feige wants that. J.K. Simmons being in this, we talked about that on that newscast, changed everything for me. I changed everything, even as far as me thinking that Hugh Jackman might be in the MCU one day. It changed a lot because it went, they're willing to dip their toes in certain pools again. So I had to... That's why I don't know what the meeting was, right? Was it like, oh, in the middle of the meeting, he's like, yeah, there's a time where Doctor Strange for fun or whatever the story, he's going to go through a bunch of universes. And we were thinking, if this were to work out, what if like we called Toby and we like a great kind of dovetail and closed off that loop, right? Of like giving him a nice little send off or giving him a cameo. Wouldn't that be fun? They could have been talking about that meetings, or was it just, this is what we're going to do? And this is the case. So so this is tough. If you have a gun to my head and I say, yes or no, I go yes. But then if I give you a percentage, I say 25%. So that doesn't make much sense, right? But I'm I'm gonna say, fuck it. Play for the fans, right? I'm gonna give it 51%. I think it's a 50-50. I mean 51%. So yes. I think Tobey Maguire, if Sam Raimi is directing, will cameo. It might be something as quick as like the Watchers in Guardians 2, but I think it's gonna happen. I think there'd be a fun thing. Sam Raimi and Kevin Feige work together on those movies, and just same thing as J.K. when they said they're having so much fun. Imagine that. Imagine even getting Toby and J.K. back together for a scene. I just think stuff like Stanley being a Watcher or being insinuated the Watcher and having the Watchers. They didn't need that in the film wall. That was pure fan service, and that to me was right fan service. I think Star Wars, even MCU can sometimes do that and goes, this doesn't work. That was right. I think it's finding a way for Toby to be in there. It could work. So I'm going to go yes. I think it's going to happen. I think it's going to be something like a Watcher, a cameo. I don't think he's going to be a big character or whatnot. I don't think that's where he'll meet Tom, unfortunately. But maybe that opens up the doors for something else down the line. But that's my prediction. I think it's going to happen if Sam Raimi does, and I really hope Sam Raimi directs. So we'll see. MCU it's getting interesting. It really is. Speaking of, there is a rumor. Same person that put out that rumor of actors playing other MCU characters. So it's like what we say, kind of like that C+ tier of rumors. There's going to be a Secret Invasion show, and let me pull it up. I think I saved the description somewhere. Let me take a look here. But it was going to be for Disney Plus, which I am kind of caught off guard because I feel like if you do a Secret Invasion, you're going to want to do the movie. So this was purportedly in the works. There have been long-running rumors. Marvel was working on some kind of comic series or cosmic series for Disney Plus, and now we might know what it is. Blah blah blah. There's indeed a Secret Invasion style series in the works that will lead directly into Captain Marvel 2, and it's said to involve Kree and Skrulls as well as Sword, which will be introduced in WandaVision. So that it sounds plausible because Dylan and I talked about, I think, potentially Secret Invasion or things like that on the Captain Marvel review, but also in the Comic-Con breakdown. So we kind of thought that would be a good place. You could even work in Fantastic Four. That's kind of my prediction, where they might debut or get hints of. It all sounds right. I'm just trying to think of the logistics of who leads it. It's a good thing with Disney Plus. You can have new leads, but there's like Maria Rambeau, who I'm not that familiar with, but and maybe Miss Marvel, but Maria Rambeau is being introduced in WandaVision. WandaVision's going to be that concept, apparently, of the show where Sword's going to be introduced in the show. So maybe that is the lead off. You kind of spin her off into her own show, which is great. I loved Monica Rambeau. I'm mad we're not getting that character back. Maybe we'll get some flashbacks, but I think it could work. I think I've been saying this for a while, and I think because there's been some other rumors to it too, so it's not like I came with thin air, but I just agreed with them, was if you're going to do another crossover event, I think they're going to wait for Avengers, but if Captain Marvel serves as a Captain America Civil War-esque movie where it is a sequel, it's about that character, but you get a bunch of other MCU figures and characters in it, that to me is a good way of cashing in and getting a big crossover event. Also putting the flame on Captain Marvel's mask even more, but then not having to pull the trigger and be like, this is the new Avengers squad yet, to save that for a little bit and really ramp up the way I was talking about Suicide Squad to Birds of Prey or whatnot, Endgame in the comic movies was, Jedi to Force Awakens. You want a little bit of a breather, and I think the longer the breather between Avengers movies is better because it'll feel like an event again. So same thing. As far as percentage, I think it's pretty high. I'm almost at a 65, 70%, somewhere in there. It's all sounds right. And Bob Iger also said that they had 7 shows in production or something like that. And I can't remember what, but someone did the math of like, okay, the shows that are happening right now, blah, blah, blah. And it was like, so that meant there was 3 shows that weren't announced that they're working on. And if this is going to lead into Captain Marvel, and similar to Scarlet Witch and to Doctor Strange, that would make sense why they haven't announced it, because Captain Marvel is past 2021. That's all they've announced, right? So it all makes sense. It all lines up, and I think it's great. I've been talking about since Captain Marvel. I was worried with Skrulls being bad guys or being good guys, we would lose out on that. But even Feige pointed out in interviews after the movie saying, there's could be sections of Skrulls that aren't good and maybe don't agree with what the good Skrulls are doing, right? Perfect. I think that's also. Is it too soon? Maybe. But I also think, especially because Knives Out, what a perfect way to bring Chris Evans back, but he doesn't have to play Cap. And when people go, oh, it's such a perfect end of the character, why would you bring him back? If you could pitch it, he's going to play Captain America. Imagine that preview in Captain Marvel. Everything's going on. There's a big action scene. All of a sudden, the shield comes up, and it's like, oh my God, Steve Rogers is back. But if he's actually a Skrull and he gets to play evil Steve Rogers, so almost like that, like Hydra Captain America that happened in the comics, I think that'd be lots of fun because it's something new. It's a way to get Chris Evans back after he's had a break, but he doesn't have to sign on to a franchise because I think he'd get killed off in that movie. And it's something different, and it's not stepping on the toes of that Captain America perfect ending in Endgame, right? So I think it's going to happen, and I really hope they go for it, which Marvel usually does. I hope they go balls to the wall and really have some fun with the Secret Invasion and start doing like what we saw in Spider-Man. Put some characters as Skrulls, don't tell us, and let's keep going. So very exciting. I hope that's real. Finally, we're talking Oscars. So let me pull up the list here. I don't think I need to go over all of them here, but the biggest ones, because there's a lot we talk about in predictions. Shout out to predictions episode. I am 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 years in a row winning the Oscar Geek vs. Pool. I'm turning into the fucking Undertaker, you know? I got my streak going. It was close. Liam and Dylan tied at 13 out of 24, and then I got 15 out of 24. So shouts to Dylan, because Dylan, it was his first year, and he went toe-to-toe with Liam. And honestly, at the beginning, they were leading me, because they got a lot of those stupid like live-action shorts and live documentary shorts. I'm not saying they're stupid. I'm just saying because if you listen to our predictions, we've not seen them. So we just guess up based upon the name or a picture. So shout-outs to those two guys, but I'm still rocking it right now. Hopefully next year becomes number 5. Big things as far as, you know, the Oscars. Lots of the awards I think we talked about were kind of spot on. Everybody got a prediction right except for Anne. We all got that wrong except for Toy Story 4, which I love Toy Story 4. I just didn't think it was going to get that. I thought it was a bit weaker, so they might look past it, but no. The acting categories went all the ways that I thought they were going to go. Go back to the prediction episode because that's where, like I said, we review the movies, and I'm not going to get into why I feel that Renee shouldn't have won, or not shouldn't have won, but you know, where's Lupita, why Laura Dern shouldn't have won, stuff like that. But at the end of the day, Laura Dern, great performance. So I'm still happy with the ones that even I wouldn't have chose. Even someone like Brad Pitt, I don't think that was an Oscar-winning performance, but it was still a great performance. And man, I'm happy for Brad Pitt because he's just been looked over time and time again. I think because his looks, and oh God, how bad for him. But the biggest thing is, and this is where Liam and Dylan almost won, was that's why I want to talk about the predictions and the Oscars. And before I get in that, Joaquin Phoenix, it's just such a glorious thing to see as somebody that was in the heat in the middle of all the Heath Ledger, as I'm looking at a photo of him right now, I got a painting of it, of his Joker winning. And it was just the sense of, man, this guy really did something special. And I'm happy his co-stars is here. I'm happy Nolan's here, and I'm happy his family's here. But man, this really sucks he's not here for it, you know? And Joaquin, we got that. And that's where it just feels like a little redemption. I know they have nothing to do with each other, but for me, it just was like, I just want to see what would happen when someone gets that praise, gets those awards, and what's next for him. Obviously, Joaquin's a bit of a different cat, and even that speech is a different type of speech, but just to know that, hey, you deserve this. I know some people don't think so. I think it was best performance last year, and any male or female, I think it was really deserving. I think he's been deserved for a while. This was his 4th nomination, and it was glorious to see. This was, hey, and this will be the ending of that hashtag Travis told you so, because that's my biggest one is they announced Joker, and so many people were against it, and I was just like, this is a good idea. And with Joaquin and even Greg from Super Civil Podcast, shout out to him, great dude. He messaged me today. He's like, I remember you saying when they cast him that he was going to win an Oscar for it. And, you know, sometimes with Birds of Prey, I get stuff wrong. This was a pretty big one for me. I was pretty happy about that, and I was so happy to be right because he deserved it. And Joker's my favorite character along with Batman, so it was great to see. So Purple Hearts all around. Where I was happy to be wrong was Best Director and Best Picture, because I predicted 1917 for both, which I so happy it didn't. Oh, I'm so happy because I just think it was such a boring choice, and I think 1917 is very overrated and very overhyped. So the conversation is now, is the Oscars kind of changing? We've talked about this a few times in the podcast. We've talked about this on prediction, and we've talked about this many times as far as Oscars in the conversation we just had. primarily white and kind of old over like 50, 60, right? So there's a big slant. And last year with Green Book, which I liked, I understand some of people's problems. I think lots of people are very hyperbolic about Green Book. I think people put a bit more shit on that film than it deserves. But fair enough. That's what happens, right? Sometimes people deserve something. When people say it's as bad as Crash, I don't go that far. And that's why I hate, because people will just praise Mahershala's performance in that, but say, oh, they won't even acknowledge that he's still in that movie. You know, it's just like he's separate from the movie. But like he was still written by the same writer and directed by the same director. It's the same reason why some people shout out like, "Oh, Joaquin Phoenix, he should have won because maybe like the dialogue's not the greatest and Joker, blah blah blah." Those people don't do that with Mahershala Ali, so it's kind of strange. So I feel like if you're gonna condemn the film, condemn it, but still praise it for certain things, you know, because people, I feel not feel bad because you know he's doing well. He's doing much better in his life than I am. But you know, 2 Oscars, Mahershala Ali, like he gave a great performance, and people just write off Green Book like it is one of the worst movies to ever be nominated. I just don't get anything that really puts down Mahershala Ali, and it's weird for people to support him so much, but then also just put that down and kind of not really do an asterisk of, oh, he was great or he rose above. It's just, you know, that happened a little bit, but not that much. But obviously, lots of people felt that was a step back. That was like a generic white. This is a movie that a bunch of white older dudes would vote for, right? And it's tough because if you look at the Academy Awards the past few years, you got 12 Years a Slave, like as far as the winners. People would make the case that, oh, it's a movie about slavery and it's white people trying to make themselves feel better. These are takes that are, you know, people's takes. They're not mine. I think it's a great movie. Steve McQueen's a great director. So I think it was an important movie too. You have things like Birdman, very different type of movie to win. You have something like Spotlight, which is an important message. I think that's more in the older demographic of, oh, this is just a very, you know, paint by numbers movie, kind of like 1917, so it's going to win. But then you had something like Moonlight, where that's where it was crazy because people would just shit on this Academy so much. And I get it. The Academy does have some reasons to be shit on. I talked about that on a few podcasts, but it's a give and take, right? Because the same people that awarded Green Book are the same people that award Moonlight when people said Moonlight was a game changer and it would really change the awards and how people looked at it because it's about a black gay lead. So obviously that's something, and it's very small film, something that's quite different, right? So that's where, for me, Parasite, I was happy to be wrong. I didn't predict it. I wanted it to happen. I wanted that, or Tarantino, or Joker. I wanted a lot of things. Just 1917. Parasite gets in. Bong Joon-ho has a magnificent, huge night, and well-deserved. If you haven't seen Parasite, what are you doing? I'm somebody that, I won't say I have a problem with subtitles. I have a problem with them in my life because I have very few times where I have no kids, and if I'm watching a movie with subtitles, I gotta have no kids. They gotta be quiet. They gotta focus because I don't want to feel like I'm missing something. So that's why for me, it's not so much of like subtitles I can't remember. It's just I have less time to watch those, you know. Unless I go to a theater, which we didn't get Parasite till I think we just got it a few weeks ago, and it was ridiculous because I was already trying to make my Oscar pool and whatnot. It's just a pain, Kelowna, to see movies in. But the thing is, does this change Oscars? Is this the game change that everyone's talking about? It's tough because, like I said, I feel that for every year, I said this on the podcast as well, the predictions, that I feel like every year the Academy does a progressive choice, and then they do a choice that you can agree, disagree. I disagree with some of it, but something like, to me, a Green Book or something like a Spotlight, where it's very cookie cutters, it's very by the numbers. It feels like it would talk about a certain, like, that demographic of the old white dude would appreciate this movie, right? And maybe the case is that old white dudes aren't out there with their eyes, you know, looking at everything, not keeping an open mind. So is Parasite a sign that maybe either enough voters have come in to change things? Is it a sign of people being a bit more open-minded? What's the sign? I personally think the sign is it's just a great fucking movie and people saw it. And I do think there's a little bit of change, but I'm not going to put the stamp of approval on it yet that every year, like, I don't think in the next 5 years we're going to see another movie win that will not have controversy. I think you will get one like a Green Book where people are like, how did this win? I don't understand it, you know? Look at Shape of Water. Another weird movie. So I think it's just sometimes certain movies win that people maybe really liked. And the same thing with Green Book is they do the preferential ballot, right? So maybe it was in a lot of 3 slots. I don't know. It's tough. I think to me to gauge this it's going to be next year. Next year is going to be the one where I look and see, okay, what wins again? Because you do have times where it was like, you know, Birdman, stuff like that. But let me see if I can pull up the winners of the past decade, right? Oscar Best Picture winners. But yeah, Bong Joon-ho, what? International film, screenplay, best director, and best picture, which I think we're all deserving because for me, this might, people might disagree. I always say that whatever wins best picture should win best director. That's just the way it is. I might be closed-minded, but to me, it's just I understand some cases, but that is the best picture. The person that was leading the charge, was the captain of that ship, should get it. So for me, whoever wins best picture, I'm not a big fan of when they split it. I always think that it should go hand in hand. You win best director, you win best picture. So let's do last decade, right? King's Speech, boring choice. Artist, boring. My takes, boring choice. Argo, you kind of make the case as maybe a bit of it's a safer choice. I love Argo, but it's a bit of a safer choice. 12 Years a Slave, I think it's a good choice. So boom, so a bit different. Birdman, boom, bit different. Spotlight, I think it's kind of safe. Moonlight, different. Shape of Water, and then Green Book, and then Parasite. So for me, you had look at that, 12 Years a Slave and Birdman, two kind of different movies. Even 12 Years a Slave, though, it's a bit more an Oscar style, right? So Birdman is different. Very different winners going on right now. Birdman, really weird film. Spotlight is a bit more contained. To me, the two are Moonlight and Shape of Water back to back. So maybe Green Book might have just been a pivot to go back to a bit more Oscar Beatty type movies or Oscar preferred movies, right? Because for me, I'm someone that likes Argo, but I am not going to tell you, oh man, that was such a experimental, different type of movie that I could have never won. Something like Django Unchained to me, or Beast of Southern Wild, like things like that would have been, oh, this is something really different that won. A Moonlight, same thing, really different. Shape of Water. Green Book, that makes sense. Parasite, first foreign language film or non-English film to win a Best Picture. So that's out of the box. So to me, it's all about next year to see, is it another Shape of Water? Is it another Green Book? If it is, or not Green Book, is it another Moonlight? To me, if it is, that shows that Green Book was maybe the reverse. When I say Parasite was just a great movie, maybe Green Book was just, that was the great movie that, if for them, was the great movie that lots of people just liked and they put it in there. And, maybe the rest of the people couldn't decide because you had Black Panther, Black Klansman, The Favorite, Roma, Stars Born. Maybe it was just divided a lot of ways. And the camp that liked Green Book was bigger than the rest of them. At the end of the day, tying back to what I said, the Birds of Prey and that the hot takes about why it bombed the box office, it's all opinions. But I agree with certain opinions that Green Book is a safer choice. I think Spotlight's a safer choice, but you have, I think Green Book, it's kind of like what I talk about with DC. He had Justice League, which, was kind of a disappointment. But before then, and Birds of Prey maybe now, but before then, you just had a bunch of wins on the record. As far as if you're wanting the Oscars to be different and to promote different type of films, something like Shape of Water, weird kind of sci-fi, not horror, but horror elements as far as the monster and Guillermo del Toro, that's there. Moonlight, like I said, a story that we don't see a lot and haven't seen a lot is the winner there. Parasite, same thing, right? So it's tough because now looking at it, I thought it was a lot more back-to-back of, which they did do for a while, right? But because what was I looking at in 2010, like I said, King's Speech, Oscar movie, Artist, Oscar movie, Argo, Oscar movie, 12 Years a Slave, Oscar movie, but I still think it's different. So it was almost like you have 12 Years a Slave and Birdman, something different or something important, and then Spotlight, and then Moonlight and Shape of Water, something different or something important. Then you had Green Book, so maybe it'll go Parasite, and then it'll go something different or something important next year, and then the year after I'll go back to it. You can't really know, but I think this is a good sign, and I'm very happy for that whole team because that is a great movie. It's definitely, I wish I had seen it before the decade because it would have been on my best of the decade list. It's a monstrous, goddamn good of a movie. I'm excited to watch it again. I'm excited to see what they do with that HBO series. There's rumors right now Mark Ruffalo is going to play the male lead, which I think would be the dad. I'd be very apprehensive if it wasn't Bong Joon-ho doing it, so I'll watch it. I don't know if they're going to achieve the same heights, but it'll be interesting. So yeah, I was happy with most of the winners, to be honest. Yeah, there were a few that like, I wouldn't have gone that route, but at the end of the day, majority I was happy with. I was happy Parasite won Best Director and Best Picture because it was one of those where I would have liked to see Tarantino finally get it. Joker's my favorite movie that year, but it's not a runaway where there's some years like when Logan wasn't nominated, I felt Logan is so much better than all these movies, where Joker is my favorite that year, but there's easily a case for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood to be my favorite, be on the same playing field, and same thing as Parasite, and same thing as Jojo Rabbit as well. Those four are really interchangeable as far as I love them kind of all equally for different reasons. So I think it was a great Oscars. The show was a mess. The opening music number, E Minum coming out. They had the presenters for the presenters. It was a mess. I don't know if I need to jump on the bandwagon. We need a host because last year was great without a host. I think this one was just really scripted poorly, and yeah, I was not a fan of a lot of stuff going on there. So that was Dynamic Duo with, Dynamic Duo. If it's just me, that means it's you and me. We're making up that Dynamic Duo. So thank you very much for tuning in. If you like what I did here, please tune in a bunch of other stuff. Go back to our Birds of Prey review. Go forward to our Sonic review when that happens. I got the match come out March 1st. You're going to want to tune that. It's going to drop on Twitter and Facebook. The links will be there. It's going to be on YouTube. Please watch it. Throw a subscription down. Throw a like. And same thing for this podcast. If you like what we're doing, please, especially these next 10 weeks, we got some good opportunities coming up, so we want the numbers to be as best as possible. Show, hey, maybe you should support us to certain people out there. Wink, wink. So if you haven't subscribed, if you haven't, please drop us a review on Apple Podcasts. If you haven't told a friend about us who you think might like us, do that. We need all the help in the world because we want to keep growing. Like I always say, people message all the time. You should do this. You should do this. And this is way out there. People go, oh, I wish you guys were daily. All those things that you wish or you say, hey, we want that to happen, or I'd like that to happen, we're saying the same things. And we need your help, and that's something you guys have supported us through these past 4 years. So we already are in debt to you, but if you want us to keep growing and keep going, we still need you on this journey. We still need you to come along. So I thank you very much for tuning into this episode. I had a fun time talking to you guys. I will be back on the Sonic review. And until next time, I'll see you later.